I just planted an artichoke plant. Now, I don't know about you, but I gag when I have to eat artichokes. I gag, I can't eat them. I wasn't raised in California. I know that's offensive, all you Californians. You're gonna come talk to me afterwards going, how dare you? They're my favorite thing, for you. You don't like broccoli though. You like artichoke. So we all have our favorite. But I grow artichoke because it's the most beautiful plant. It screams Southwest. Big blue foliage. Has like claws on it, and you like want to scrape your face off when you go buy it. It says prehistoric plant that belongs in Arizona. I can't grow a saguaro, so I might as well grow an artichoke. They do fine in the winter, but the flower, I don't harvest the fruit, I actually let it flower. Because it's got this beautiful, ginormous, like scaly flower with blue, bright blue flowers coming out of it. It's beautiful. So what I find is in the sunny areas, it's a perennial. Mine's a north slope on the back side. I plant one every year just because it's pretty, and it's in a container. You get this very formal, square, English pot that I put a artichoke in. It's just feng shui. It says sweet and sour. It's just, you look at it and go, that's not right. I can't look away, it's not right. And it's so beautiful, everyone comments on it. And I let it go into bloom. I don't actually, I put it there. It's an edible plant just for beauty, for me. Now you'll come over and go, can I cut that off? And I'll go, no! It is time to put potatoes in. I just planted 2 large earth boxes with potatoes. And so you've got, potatoes are much like tomatoes in that they taste better when you pick them right out of the ground. First of all, it's like magic. You dump the pot over and just like 5 pounds of potatoes come out and just spill out, you know, eat me. And then they taste better. They do taste better. And they're like weeds here in Arizona. These things grow like weeds. I would suggest using seed potatoes, not things from the grocery store, because many times they'll spray the grocery store potatoes and keep them from the eyes, so they increase the shelf life. These have not been sprayed or treated. They're just raw, ready to go. You'll see them sprouting right in the bag. There's several flavors. I like Yukon Gold, personal. You all have your own favorites. I find my red potatoes produce better, but the Yukon Golds just taste so good. Oh my goodness. Anyway, what I'm actually going to do, I should go over, okay, brain fart, just a minute. For my tomatoes specifically, I get 1 of each of these, and let me tell you why. We're notorious for July 1, the plants are up to size, they're looking really good, they have not set 1 blossom yet. Notorious. I don't care how much manure or not or what you do, we're notorious for having nice plant, isn't fruiting, isn't setting blossom, sheds of blossoms, won't set fruit. Those are probably blame it on the bees, we blame it on our soil or wind. It really comes down to tomatoes. They get to growing, they've got a mind of their own. When they're growing, they just go, I focus on growing. I must produce more vines, more, grow, grow, grow. And they actually forget, literally, to stop, take a breather, and set fruits. So that's what they make blossom set for. That's what this is, it's tomato and blossom set. This is misused more times, miswritten about it. Just the way you use this is not a pollinator. You don't spritz the flowers. You spray the entire foliage mass of the plant. That's how you use this. You don't want the little tiny 8-ounce you get from Home Depot. You want the biggest thing you can get from Waters Garden Center. Okay? You need the big size because you're spraying the whole foliage. And so I'll do this every other week. Once the plant is up to size, every other week I'll spray tomato set on my tomatoes until it starts to set fruit. Once it starts to set, once you can get your plant to start thinking, oh that's right, I'm a fruiting plant, I should set fruit. All of a sudden it seems to go on its own, it seems to be trained. But you have to train your plants sometimes to set that fruit. And that's what tomatoes set, that's what the blossom sets for. This also works way better on cucumbers. Eggplants works really good. Works more than just tomatoes, but everyone thinks of it as tomatoes. In addition, The in-between weeks, I spray the plant, the foliage, with rot stop. This is liquid calcium. Now I front loaded at the beginning with gypsum, but blossom end rot is a serious problem here. It's a serious problem. You will have it. You don't do any of this, you will have rotting fruit. The first crop will be lost or all tainted with blossom end rot. So I spray with rot stop, which is liquid calcium, and I spray the foliage, not the fruit. And what will happen is you'll have a larger fruit and a sweeter fruit if you give it more calcium. Calcium is nothing but good. It can't harm, it can only help. It makes the fruits larger and a better flavor to it. And so once a week I'm spritzing, just lightly spritzing, the foliage of my plants with this rot stop or with blossom end rot. So when I buy I just buy one of each and I go, I'm gonna go, and this is usually a season's worth, and I just lightly spritz things. So anyway, that's what this gardener does. It makes a tremendous difference. I mean, you will notice a better harvest, better flavor, and less problems if you do that. I only add gypsum one time at the beginning, and then I don't do it anymore because I've got the liquid piece. So gypsum's hard to regulate. It's hard to tell where the roots are, how much it's going to need, how much do you need. There's no science on that. But I know at the front end I can do it, no problem. Okay. We should talk insects real quick. We do get this moth. It's about this big, looks like a hummingbird. Sometimes it's referred to as the hummingbird moth. It is not. It's a tomato-eating moth. That big green tomato worm, that's the larva stage. She's out flying, pollinating your flowers and laying eggs, so you'll have a huge green tomato eat all the foliage off. She's bad. Take a shotgun and take them out of the sky. They're enormous. They're a problem. They're everywhere. You're going to have green tomato worms. You're going to. I mean, I used to feed them, I used to pick them off. The organic way is to pick them off by hand, if you can find them all. I'd put them in a can, and they'd give them to my boys when they were younger, going, here boys, play with these. They go, oh, thank you. Go ahead, just make sure they're dead when you're all done. They go, oh, freedom to kill things. All right, it's boys. You gotta love boys. They're all the same. And we don't change with age. We still like to watch things. It's a sickness. The spray I have for that, you can't, if you know they're coming, they usually come July, August, is where they're, that late summer is where they're really gonna come in at you. Keep an eye on it. You'll see foliage disappear. You'll see little black droppings on the lower, the poop basically. You actually see physical caterpillar poop on the lower branches. Watch for that. You won't see the insect. They blend in so well. I mean, it's just hard to find them. But you'll notice the symptoms before you see the actual insect. And they go from this stage to this stage in like no time. And they come at you in force. Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. Aye, matey, Captain Jack's will take them out. I always think pirates, I don't know why. Captain, just the weirdest name. Where they come up with that, I don't know. It's a great organic spray, organic. And I think you can spray this up to the day of harvest. What I have to legally tell you is follow the directions, but it's a good organic that you can spray the foliage with. They'll come out that evening, digest some foliage, get sick. They basically don't die instantly. They die of starvation. It's very gratifying. They basically shrivel on the vine and they stop eating, they get sick, and they drop off and die. It's good. Tomato worms are bad. Also squash bug, cucumber bugs, all the things that digest foliage, this takes them out. This actually works on everything except aphids. And I wish it would take out aphids and have all of our problems solved with one spray, but this works well. Home Harvest is the one that we put together. It's neem oil, N-E-E-M, for you organic gardeners, you know what that is. It's some fancy oil that wipes out aphids, thrip, the smaller insects. Does a fabulous job. And it has a bit of a repelling action. It'll tend to, puts an odor on it, have a slight fragrance, so the insects also pick up on that. And it'll keep them off. Like aphids right now are really bad. If you've got Brussels sprouts and some of those other early spring crops, kale, you've got aphids. Look, you can spray this up to the day of harvest, and it takes them right out. All organic. So on my vegetables, all of my edibles, I just insist on going organic. I mean, I want I want organic. Out in the yard where it's less, I care less. I just want them dead. Like if the ground is moving, the grasshoppers, dead now, not 3 days from now. Like now, I want you quivering before my feet. Now.
Work against grasshoppers?
It doesn't work on grasshoppers. No, I can show you something else. Grasshoppers aren't that much of a problem in a vegetable garden. They're more, blister beetles, that kind of stuff. They're more out there, prairies, that kind of stuff. A couple other things. Tomato starter, the plant starters. I showed those at the very beginning. They come in packages of 3. That's how you buy them. You get usually about 3, 4, maybe 5 years. I mean, some of mine have duct tape on them, that kind of stuff. Whatever it takes to get them through. But eventually the sun will break down this plastic and they'll start to leak on you. At that point, it's not worth the frustration. Throw them away, get a new one. You can come over here, we always have these. Early spring, we always have them. I'll keep these on through May, and I slide them up off and I store them away again. I don't keep them on for the whole season, just for the beginning of the season when it's cold. Once the soil is naturally warm by itself, I take these off. Mainly so I can get more uses out of them. You can keep them on, some customers will. The sun will really break them down fast if you do that. I want to reuse them, obviously. I've got dozens of them, but I tend to dry them out, store them up, put them in the garden shed, and away I go. Okay. Tomatoes. There's some science that says tomatoes pick up on the color red. They'll color up faster if they're surrounded by red. I've tried it. I can't really tell. It can't hurt. It can only help. But we do have these tomato trays that you're supposed to plant your tomato through this opening right here, and then it makes it easier to water them. In a container raised bed, this would be brilliant, especially if you don't have a drip system. But I think this is more about the way it's designed to release water around the root mass than it is about the color. I know it says it works because it's red. I think it's a marketing ploy. I think it's more about the watering. The science is good. I just don't know if it does all that it says it does. At least this gardener hasn't quite experienced, but I can't poo-poo it. I just can't rah-rah it either. So you can try it yourself. I'd love to get examples of it. Comes in multiple trays, good for years. So some of this hardware stuff is good because you invest once and it's good for years to come. Yeah.
I used them last year.
Oh, you did? Excellent. We got a testimony.
I did too.
And it worked? Did or?
It worked.
It worked.
And, yeah, and I used
For watering, or did the color? Oh, you worked drip too. You cheated. You did both. You're the shock and awe guy. We're going to drip it and the hardware. What'd you use? It worked. So for the watering piece, works brilliantly. Works really, really well. But it says the red brings out the red of the fruit. I didn't see that fruit. Well, if some have them and some don't, this one should ripen faster than this one. I haven't found that to be the case. And I test this stuff. If you're telling me something, I don't believe till I see the proof. I want to see it first. And I've got a responsibility for you all to kind of curate this stuff and see if what they're really saying works. Because you're coming here because it works. That's the way I see it. Or that's the pressure I put on myself. That's the pressure Lisa's dad put on me. Harold Waters, my father-in-law. Botanical Interest is our seed company. They put together these fancy wood stakes. This is brilliant. No more of this cheesy plastic. You can actually write on this with a Sharpie and it's obvious I can find it. So many of these little tiny stakes that get buried by the plant as it grows. You can't find the dog. What was that again? I can't. You gotta go digging. Finally, they made it decent size where you can kind of see it. So it's just some things that I think would help gardeners. Obviously, you all are hardcore gardeners. Birds are going to eat my cherries. They're going to eat they're going to peck at some of your fruit. My tree is a little too large to net, or I don't want to be on a ladder, quite honestly. I don't want to get up there, and I don't want to take the time to net it. So I do use these bird tape. Works really, really good. If you've got issues with plants, birds coming in on your plants eating the fruit, this works very, very well. It's just strips of flashy tape, and birds are really flighty and spooky. You just got to keep them off long enough till you can harvest all the fruit before they do. It does not work on seedlings. Seedlings are coming up right now, and The quail love to come in after new seedlings. There, you have to keep, you got to put bird netting on top. Usually I'll take a cinder block or some sort of block, put the netting on top of that, and then put another block on top, just kind of hold it taut around, and still they'll walk up on top of that trying to get to them. But that seems to keep them up. Once they're up to where you got a few leaves, the quail seem to be less interested. But at first, when they're first coming up, oh, they love carrots. They love lettuce. They love any seedling. They'll go out for Brussels sprouts. They love any of those new seedlings. Watch them. So the quail will be the issue. We won't even touch javelina. Okay, keep them out of the garden. They're gonna eat everything. Okay. I think we got most of it. Let me just show you some things that I'm gonna do this afternoon. Lisa and Megan have been away all week. So they were in New York. We just got back last night about 10 o'clock. And so they're shopping colleges. Houghton, in between Rochester and Buffalo, and anyway, know New York. She's looking at going to Houghton College. Why, I don't know. It's cold, it's snowy. Why in Arizona would go that far north and east, I don't know, but she wants to go. I think she wants to get away from the house. Anyway, I'm spent. She's not only did I have to feed myself, the canned goods are almost gone, but she's my business partner. She runs the place. I had to run the store. Megan does all the digital media. I had to post that thing on Wednesday by myself. I put that out. The frost warning, Megan usually does that for me. So I'm gonna go home and just garden therapy. Some things I'm gonna do. One thing I'm gonna do is plant my peppers. I've got a big square red pot, oxblood red. It stands this tall. It's this square. It's huge. It's ginormous. It's beautiful. I'm going to turn it into a piece of art. What I'm going to do is plant one of these in each corner of the pot. So I'll actually have 4. I wish I could get this where you could see it. Let's do this. I'll just give you a quick look of what I'm going to do, because this shopping cart is about the same size as my pot. I just use the top edge. Watch your shins, folks, in the front row. I brought this for you because it's a blueberry, and I just got excited because look at all the blueberries. Isn't that pretty? This doesn't relate at all. It just excites me as a gardener. Anyway, blueberries do really great in pots, not so well in the ground in pots. We won't touch that. What I was going to do here, actually I designed this one too. I'm going to do this one in a big round pot. I'm going to put cattail. I've got my grandmother's old wash tub. She was from the South, Noonan, Georgia. Big cast iron pot. It's this big around. They put it over top of a fire, heat the warm the water up. They use those what do they call those things? Washboards on top of hot water. I've got the washboard if you want. Take a look in the men's room. It's hanging on the wall. Even the you ladies, you can walk in. It's hanging on the wall. And then I've got the tub at home, and I've drilled some holes in the bottom, and I'm going to plant this. I'm going to put cattail and this, what is this, lemongrass, golden sweet flag in the corners. I just love the change in color.
Can you move
and
the card over a
little?
little?
You can't see it on the camera?
Yeah.
Well, it's mobile. Oh, you need to duck down. No. Just totally kidding. Not even. So I just like, this is not edible at all. It's just fun, pretty. It'll be a piece of art, and it's perennial. It'll stay like this. And so it'll be, this will get up about this tall. It's right by the edge of the hot tub, where my neighbor's bathroom light always comes on when you're out there. Why, I don't know. She waits until I get in the hot tub, and then she goes, time. So this will kind of give me some privacy, and it's just pretty. It'll be a piece of art. So this would go in the ground today. And those things, I don't need to worry about frost. They're fine. This one I'm going to plant one in each corner. These are actually not for sale. These are mine. I've already picked them. So there's going to be 8 plants all together in this big pot. So I'm going to put, how do I explain this? How do I get, so it'll be one in each corner. I'm going to put one of these. So these peppers will be in each corner. They'll grow up about this tall, loaded with fruit. And then these trailing petunias will flow over the edge and trail down. So I'll get a lot of dimension. It'll be spectacular when it's in bloom. Everyone comments, I do this every year in the same pot. It's spectacular. It gets more peppers than I know what to do with. And literally, I'll be giving some away, giving them to employees. I'll have a lot of peppers. Although I did just take all the last canned ones, there's none left. All I have are habaneros left in my canning. How many habaneros do you need to eat at a time? Like a fraction of one? They have like 1 million Scoville units of heat. It's crazy. They're too hot. I'm not growing that this year. These are Big Jims, Anaheims, and jalapenos. Those are my peppers. I like to grill peppers or salsa. Those are my favorites, just personally. That's a good technique. Also flowers, a lot of times the pollinators, there's not enough pollinators around. First of all, we take in their natural environment, we asphalted it over and put shingles every place, and there's not enough of their natural environment. So we wonder why the bees are disappearing. Man's moved in, and we just don't have enough pollinators for them. So you can woo pollinators, you can mesmerize them into your gardens. They cannot resist the color blue, purple, or yellow. So I try to introduce some flowers actually into my vegetable gardens. They're pretty, first of all, but then also it brings the bees, the moths, the butterflies, and the flies. There's actually a lot of the bees that you think are bees, they aren't bees, they're flies. The only way you can tell, they look like bees, but their eyes are different. You look at that, it's really fascinating. If you're into insects, I like bugs. Anyway, it'll do twofold. So help pollinate the flowers on the edibles, and it'll be pretty.
Is that the size of your pot?
That's about the size of my pot. Maybe it's a little bit, I figured I'd almost be touching. It'll be about like that.
So that's enough dirt for your
Oh, it's super deep. Yeah, it's plenty of dirt for the peppers. Seem to do fine. It's a big clay pot, so it breathes. Yeah, it does really, really well. Most of my container gardens, really a technique. When you get done with your container, there's a whole class on this that Lisa teaches. You want to make sure there's foliage to foliage. When you're all done, it should look finished when you're done. It shouldn't look, you don't space them out at 18-inch intervals. You don't read the labels, you go foliage to foliage. It should look finished. So these do fine, okay? Some other pollinators that do really, really well. I brought lavender. This is a new lavender. This is lavender with love. Usually it's more purple, this is more pink, but bees love lavender. If you get some of this in or even around or even close, bees are going to come in and go, thank you so much. And they're going to come pollinate your tomatoes, your squash. Squash are notorious for not pollinating. So this is a good one. One that I find they really like, this is catmint, not catnip. Catmint. Great perennial for here. It actually starts to bloom in April, doesn't stop until November, it's still in bloom. But you notice the color of the flower. They can't resist it. They just can't. Bees will literally fly across your yard and go, whoa, right in there. They can't resist it. And it blooms a crazy long time. Drought hardy. This could be part of your just regular landscape. It'd be really tough. Okay? This is a butterfly landing pad, scabiosa, or pincushion flower. Each one looks like a pincushion, but butterflies cannot resist. They have to, you'll see butterflies in the morning, you'll see 3 or 4 of them on this one plant. They just cannot resist. If you want to bring more of the pollinators into your garden, put a few of these around. Okay? Great little perennial that just comes back every year for you. Plant it once, tough. I noticed the javelina, don't eat this. It does really, really well for me. Okay? In the back, if I could hear. Yes. Yes. Yes.
How do you know how to find the difference?
Well, so the nicotoids, which you're actually talking about, this is a big thing. Why are the bees disappearing? And I can do a whole talk on just that. Because I know the scientists that made the molecule for that, and I know the beekeepers. I know the story between the two. I know somewhere in the middle lies the truth. I do know that Depot and Lowe's are using nicotoids on their plants. You should shop at a place that doesn't use nicotoids, and that would be Waters Garden Center. We like the bees, we like the butterflies, we like hummingbirds, and we don't use that stuff. So we use organics. If we see something, we use neem oil or soap. We use something safe for bees. This is a problem. We don't know the answer. We do know, just a tidbit real quick, the native or natural bee populations are going up. The commercial bee populations, which is that's the only one you hear about, because those are the guys, those are the billionaires. They have the media in their pockets, bantering back and forth. Those guys, those populations are going down, and we don't know why. We want to know why because big money, this is big ag business. This is like bazillions of dollars are behind this. They really want to know. Both sides really want to know. 2 colonies of bees can pollinate 30 million flowers. This is big, this is big stuff. You can't do it by hand. You need bees. And so they don't know the answer. I know that you can make a difference in your own yard and draw more of them in by just a few simple techniques. And you don't need a lot of space. You can keep it really, really simple. And here's some plants you can do it. These have not been treated with nicotinoids, so it's not gonna, your bees are not gonna, you never find dead bees around. It's not gonna happen. 2019, Depot and Lowe's are saying they will stop using that. That's offensive to me. I'm just going, 2019 is a problem now, smack! Oh, anyway, okay, off my soapbox. Anyway, this is Gaura, G-A-U-R-A, Gaura. Good perennial. Hummingbirds love this plant. They're a good pollinator. They see this. It's a short plant, perennial, but the flowers float up like this, and it just waves in the wind. It's a great pollinator. It attracts more pollinators into your gardens. We can go on and on and on. Butterfly bush, there's so many varieties. But look at the plants. As you walk through on a warm day, when the bees are actually not hunkered down going, I'm so cold. On a warm day, it'll probably be today. They'll start coming back out because they'll be hungry. You can look at the plants, look at the flowers. They'll be on certain ones. They won't be on others. So look for those and introduce some of those into your vegetable garden. It'll help them pollinate your plants. Everyone wants to plant marigolds to keep the bugs away. Really, marigolds don't do that. I mean, marigolds, you'd have to put it in the middle of a marigold garden. I mean, like flower bed, like the whole house is marigolds and the tomatoes in the middle. Maybe it might keep some bugs away. This is a codling. This is a moth, hummingbird moth. She can fly over that and lay eggs on top. It's not going to make any difference to her. So I don't find, maybe we should use flowers to bring good bugs in instead of planting flowers that keep bad bugs out. Anyway, I haven't found that to be the difference. Okay, here's Lithidora. This is better for your more shaded lettuce, spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, those things. But isn't it pretty? Just by itself, it's pretty. Good pollinator. I do have rhubarb starts down in the store, the roots in the store. And you need to plant that and let it grow for 2 years before you harvest. Or we've got some actual plants you can harvest this year. You choose. The starts are much cheaper. They're half a third the money, but you're waiting twice as long. But we do have rhubarbs coming in. We've got a finite crop, but there'll be a few of them in. A rhubarb. I don't have asparagus. Asparagus, I'm starting to harvest asparagus in my own gardens. That's another perennial edible. But that one you do have to start by the roots. And so they get too tall, they grow too fast, they have no shelf life, you can't ship them. You just can't grow them commercially and bring them in. You have to start those by the roots. But those are available. It's time to start those now. Artichoke. Isn't that cool? Isn't that just the neatest plant? You don't want to touch it or anything. It does have little barbs at the end. It's not as gristly as it looks, but it is just a funky, it screams I should be in Arizona. It is a good perennial in the sunny areas. I find that it does treat like an annual if it's in a real cold. If we go down to 0 degrees, wipes it out. Or if you're in a pot and it goes down to single digits, wipes it out. If you get in a sunny area, reflective heat, this one loves the heat. More heat, the better. Surrounded with rock, parked by the asphalt. I mean, it's good for that. And it does produce very, very well. What's that? I don't know. I don't think so. I've got some neighbors that grow in their front door, just their front entrance. It's been there for a few years. And we've got javelina roaming the street like all of us do. Seem to be okay. Here's a quick tip. This is an early girl tomato I'm going to take home and plant today. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to take and prune off all of the bottom branches. I'm just going to do it now for you all so you get a feel for it. I'll probably go down. I won't prune this last one. I'll get a feel. I probably will. I'll probably prune this one off too. Tomatoes are one of the very few plants. You'll notice right at the stems a bunch of hairs growing from the actual vine. If you can get those into the ground, those will turn into roots. So the deeper you can plant your tomatoes, only your tomatoes. If you do this with any other plant, you'll get crown rot. Tomatoes are one of the only, it's the only vegetable that you can do this with. Grapes can do it, but that's not a vegetable. Grapes, okay, grapes and tomatoes are the only things you can do this with, okay? Yeah, so vegetable garden, though, I'll plant this thing literally this deep so that I get more root hairs, more root mass. And then if you don't have this much soil, I've actually bent them down and bent them up, like just anything to get this in the ground. Get it in the ground, deeper. So I'm looking for a tall, leggy tomato myself. I'm looking for the tallest, leggiest, so I get more stems, so I get it in the ground deeper. So that's just a real quick trick. So now all of a sudden, this soil stays moist longer, and I'll have a larger root mass. So really up your game or increase your harvest this year will make a big difference right now at the beginning of the planting season. Once they're planted, you're kind of committed. Okay, so that's what this gardener does. It really does make a difference. This will literally go home with you today and be planted in a plant protector. If you don't protect these, if you're planting tomatoes and you just leave them out there, you'll be back buying more tomatoes because these are not guaranteed. Okay, trees and shrubs guaranteed, not tomatoes. But I do have kids get through college. I'm giving you permission to go ahead and plant now. But generally, I only give that advice to my enemies, not my friends. Herbs, let's touch on that, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Or we can take a couple questions, okay? Oregano. Herbs they grow like weeds here. You should have some fresh herbs in your garden. And I brought this one because it's a golden oregano, very unusual, has the same fragrance, same grape. Smell that, just pass that around. Smells so good. Oregano's a weed. It grows like crazy here. And herbs are just like tomatoes. They taste much better picked fresh from the garden than they do from some store-bought 5-day-old display that they're trying to keep fresh at all costs. They're so easy to grow here. They're easier to grow here than they are other parts of the country because we're dry. Herbs like dry, bright days. They don't tend to leaf spot on us. They don't get the molds. They don't melt down. They're just always fresh and perky. I've been picking sage for months. I've been picking parsley all winter. Parsley. That's just a great, I could just live on this. Kale. I've been picking it all winter. So some of these things you can expand your horizon. It doesn't just have to be about your edible summer plants. It can also be about your perennials and your early season or winter plants. Okay, I'll get that calendar to you. It'll tell you when you can have fresh broccoli for Christmas dinner. I do it all the time. There's nothing like it. You want to mesmerize guests? Just kind of have fresh broccoli for Christmas dinner and sprinkle a few pansy flowers in the salad. You're going to be like a hero. Garden chef, like you got it all covered, all right from the gardens. Okay? Now let's go over, let me make sure I got everything that I wanted to cover for you. I think I got it, okay? Everything else is extra. I brought this last one just because you should smell this before you leave. This is a mock orange. It's a perennial shrub. It does this every year, starting to bloom. But it just smells, I just brought it because I went, oh, that's so nice. If I liked it, I'm going to go talk to gardeners. You should smell it before you leave. And anyway, any last questions? And I'll try to repeat it. Yeah?
Watering.
Watering. Yes, we should. Yeah. It's hard on vegetables.
Don't water. We got to come back here.
Yeah,
and
right.
support you.
Okay, so watering. Here's my take on watering, okay? So I use AquaBoost crystals. That's gonna reduce, that's gonna take the number of days in between that I need to cycle that water on. It'll double that. It'll give me more days in between water cycles, okay? So I don't have to water as frequently. I have to water just as much. So once you figure out how deep the roots are, you need to water that much every time. Now the question is, how frequent do I need to cycle that thing on? I know we tend to over water. If you put too much water on a plant, they'll stop producing. They'll dampen off. Youngsters, we call it damping off. They'll just literally turn yellow, fall over, and rot. That's all indications of too much water. Now there's some indication of blossom end rot. It's just too soggy, too wet. I think it's not so much the water. I think the water locks up all the calcium, so the calcium's sitting there, but it can't get to it. So watering can play an issue in that particular problem. So watch that one. I personally like to plant test victims. I'll actually plant a pansy in my garden because pansy is really talkative. They're just crybabies. If they get dry, they lay over and go, "I'm so dry." And I go, "Oh, it must be about time to water." So watch your plants. Certain plants in that garden will be more talkative, except your tomatoes. Don't follow their direction. They're big old beefy crybabies too. At the end of the day, they'll start wilting about 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't water them. Hold. Wait, as soon as that sun goes away, it will perk right back up. Go, "Oh, okay, never mind, psych." So as soon as the sun's gone, it'll perk right back up. If it's at the end of the day. If it's the beginning of the day, okay, that's a concern. At the end of the day, I'd say tomatoes, let them get a little bit dry, it's okay. Don't let them get too dry, there's some balance there. You should water early in the morning, not in the evening. Do not follow the directions from Phoenix. They'll tell you water in the middle of the night. Who would live in Phoenix to begin with? I mean, it's 100 degrees at midnight. Of course you need to water. We don't live that way. Here we got an afternoon rain, probably in the summer. Monsoons are coming. So if you're watering and you've got an afternoon rain, and those plants stay real cool, real wet. We're gonna dip down the 60s, 70s. It's cool. You can sleep with the windows open. If those plants are wet in the evening, you'll get mildews, molds, crown rot. All tomatoes are looking to get leaf spot. And you keep them in the ground long enough, you'll have disease. So make sure you water in the morning, hydrate the plants before the heat of the day. Don't water them at night. That's a big bit of advice I can give you. And because of the issues that come with disease afterwards. Okay, if they're a little wilty at the very end of the day, don't worry about it. Night will come, the sun will go, and they'll just perk right back up. Be fine until morning. Okay, how much to water them? Just water them enough until they're hydrated. Don't water just this much soil. Water the entire root mass. Give it a lot when you do it, so that the plants can get through a longer period of time. Okay. That's all vegetables, not just nightshades. That's a common problem. Okay, her question was, what causes thick skin on tomatoes? What causes thick skin is an arid climate. It's just dry. Your skin, you notice your skin does the same thing? Your skin is tougher and rougher than your cousin in the East Coast, or the South where it's humid, or the Northwest, or any other place. Skin. It's a defense. So some of the things you can do to help with thick skin, or cracking skin would be another one. Another reason, the AquaBoost, top dressing the soil to keep the sun off of the soil. So.